Okay, turns out that this was incredibly easy to fix. All we need to do is make sure that this says if not is set, which is very logical because if we did have an ID that we specified and we would redirect back to index.php without doing anything, that just doesn't make sense. So now when we try to delete test.php, we get redirected to category list and we see that test is no longer there. Alright, so let's start adding posts. Here we have a simple form. We have a title, contents, which is of course the post itself, and category. And the first thing we are going to do is populate this. So in here we are going to use the get categories, I need to spell it right, categories function again in a for each loop as category, and we're going to do this. Get rid of that. Option value equals something and close that. Here we simply display the name, and in here we're going to display the ID. So we are not storing the category name in the posts table, but the category ID, as you can see right here. So let's save this, and then when we go to add post.php, we see here that we get the list of categories, and when we let me just open up Firebug, and when we go to this, we have our select form here, and the values are 1 and 2 respectively. So that works fine. What I'm going to do next is say in here in the title input field, if is set post title. So if the form was already submitted with this title, but some errors were thrown, so it wasn't processed yet, we still get the title in the input field again, so the user does not need to type it all out again. So we do echo post title, and we do the same for the contents, except of course with contents. Oops, contents. And now when we refresh this and we put something in there and we add it, we see that this remains in the input field. Alright, now to start actually doing something interesting with PHP. First we need to check if all these 3 fields were submitted, which is done using isSet. And we're going to say post title, but also post contents and post category. This is a pretty neat feature of the isSet function. You don't need to call it 3 times, you can just specify a long list of values. Alright, so as with the category, we are going to trim white space from the front and end of the input fields, with the exception of category. So title equals trim post title, and contents equals trim post contents. Let's tab that in a bit. Good. Now we need to check if these actually have a value. So if empty title and if empty contents. And of course, going to define an errors array. In here we're going to say if no title was actually submitted, add this error to the errors array. And the error can be anything you want. I'll just go with you need to supply a title. Very simple. And we do the same thing for the contents. You need to supply some text. Alright, next up is to check if the supplied category here actually exists. It's possible to fake this data if you try hard enough. So we do need to apply this check. However, the way the category exists function currently works is to specify a category name. However, we cannot get this very easily. So what we need to do is modify the category exists function. And what we're going to do is we're going to give it two parameters, a field and a value. I'm going to protect both. Do the same for value. MySQL real escape string a value. And we're going to change the query to select count 1 from field. That's wrong, of course. Categories where field is equal to a specific value. So what we can do now is in here we can say where ID is equal to post category. And of course this needs to be not. However, remember that we also used this in addCategory.php, so we need to change this, and here we're going to select the name field and the posted category name. Alright, so continuing, we need to specify an error message here, which will be that category does not exist. Alright, final check. The length of the title cannot be longer than 255 characters. So errors equals the title cannot be longer than 255 characters. I'm quickly going to display these errors here. So here we open up a PHP block and we say if is set errors and not empty errors. Remember, if the form gets submitted, we automatically get the errors array, but so long as we do not get any errors, it will be empty, and that's why we use this. What we're going to do here is we're going to echo an unordered list. We're going to open it, then we're going to close them, and in between we do implode. This is a very useful function, I love it. And we say end of list, list, and errors. What this does is it outputs an unordered list with a list item, and then for every single element in the errors array, it outputs the error, closes it off, starts a new one, outputs another error, and so on until there are no more errors where it displays this last end list and ul tags. So I'll show you that this works in the next part, so see you there.